We're just about to go into another lockdown here in Toronto, and Thanksgiving is coming up in the US next week. And 2020 has just been a very complicated, challenging year to stay connected to each other. And as we're using more technology, we have to really figure out how we can be present with each other when we're using it and not distracted, because I believe that there's a lot of people out there that really crave this deep human connection, yet using this actually makes it much harder to feel connected, to really feel like there's more going on, that where you completely forget that you're looking at a screen. So today I want to share with you the top 5 tips on how to be more present on Zoom. And if you haven't watched my TEDxCalgary mini talk yet, I will link to that up here on YouTube or post the link beneath this video on Facebook. But please check it out, because that's where I share a story and the reasons why this is actually really important and maybe one of the biggest challenges we're facing right now. So the first tip is removing all distractions. And what I mean by that, the main distraction is probably this, our cell phones. So if you are sitting in front of your computer, you don't necessarily need your cell phone there as well. So turn it on airplane mode, turn it off. Ideally, put it in a drawer and put it out of view, because studies have shown that even having the cell phone visible, you will still be thinking about it more often and it will keep you distracted, and that really makes the other person feel less important. So number 1, remove all distractions. Another thing you can do on your computer, you can mute different tabs on your browser. You can turn off notifications there, so you really can be fully there for the conversations that you're having with the important people in your life. Now, the second tip is all about hiding self-view. So if you're using Zoom, for example, to do your video calls, especially if you're just connecting with one person or a small group, we probably all spend a lot of time just looking at ourselves. Does my hat sit right? Is my hair good? Why do I have that weird look on my face? And we're spending so much energy just worrying about ourselves that we should be spending being present with the other people. So there's a real cool trick that I'll show you right now, which is called hide self-view in Zoom. And all you need to do is go to the top right corner when you hover over your own thumbnail and click the 3 dots, and then there's an option that says hide self-view. And once you click that, you magically disappear, and now all you can see is the other person or the other people who are on the Zoom call, which is really fun. And if you ever wanted to turn that back on, because you need to check if you're still looking good or whatever, like once you're wrapping up your conversation, just go to view on the top right, and then there's an option to show self-view, and suddenly you magically reappear again. And the third tip, kind of in the same vein, is all about removing even more distractions. So before I hide myself again by clicking the hide self-view button, I want to make sure that you see all these different notifications that might be popping up on the top of your screen that we can simply remove by going full screen. So let's hide self-view, and then you just click going full screen, and suddenly all of that disappears and you can really focus on just the other person. And now that you're full screen, or the other person is full screen, this is a great time to make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, to subscribe to my channel, because I'm putting out a lot more content around helping people connect in more meaningful ways. Plus also, if you're facilitating any events or experiences, how to use technology so we can actually create these moments where people genuinely, deeply feel connected to each other. So, fourth tip is about listening deeply. And this is one of the things that I always teach in my events, in my workshops. And it's about how oftentimes when somebody else is sharing a story, we are in our own head. We're thinking of stories that we could share. So as an example, you might have had somebody tell you about their favorite vacation that they just went to Mexico, to this amazing resort. Actually, that probably was last year because nobody's really been traveling this year. But as they're telling their story, you are in your head thinking about, oh, I went to vacation to Mexico too, to this really cool resort. I really can't wait for the first opportunity to jump in and share my story. And that's the problem. You're in your head. You're not really listening to the other person. You're already formulating your question. So I challenge you to really be deeply listening and pay attention to what the other person is sharing. Think of follow-up questions you could ask them so you really understand their part of the story, their emotions, what they were feeling when they were on that vacation. Like, what was your favorite part? What was the food like? Like, what was your favorite memory about that trip? And I promise you, the more you can make other people feel seen and heard by leaving them in the spotlight until there's a natural time to shift, the more you'll enjoy the conversations, the more you enjoy the connections, and it really makes the other person feel so much more valued and acknowledged. And number 5 is all about making eye contact, which is the most challenging thing to do using technology, because there's a difference between looking at the camera, which you, by the way, can find really quickly if you take your finger and you just check on your laptop or on your phone. Usually there's like a green light that is on, and just go over there until your finger is covering your face, and now you know where the camera is. If you look into the camera, like I'm doing right now, it will feel like you're making eye contact with the other person. The problem is you can't really see their facial reactions, their body language, because you're not looking at the screen. If I'm looking at the screen, it kind of looks like I'm looking at your chin or your chest, not the best place to look at, and we just never are able to catch the eye contact at the same time without complicated technical solutions, which are out there and maybe are going to be more affordable in the future, as this is becoming more of a challenge right now. But my tip is make sure that you kind of go between looking at the lens, looking at your screen, go back and forth as much as possible to make sure that the other person feels like you're making eye contact with you. And it makes a huge difference. It sounds like this tiny little thing, but it makes a huge difference. So these are my 5 tips on how to be more present when you're connecting with people. I really want you to keep that in mind as Thanksgiving is coming up and you might be connecting with family. Remove distractions and don't be checking email. Don't be surfing on social media at the same time as they are sharing a story, and it will make a huge difference. So if we can all adopt at least one of those challenges, one of those tips that are shared today, that would be really, really amazing. All right, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. There's some more videos around the same topic that will pop up over here in a moment. And if you haven't watched my TED Talk, go check that out, and I will see you in the next video.